And someday, around the corner, we'll be back there, and that'll be good.
This guy who's kind of cursed, he's compelled to violence, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to kill. He doesn't want, he finds life precious, but he's got this, he can't die. And so I thought that was an interesting problem. And I thought it was a kind of interesting psychological journey. And he's kind of like, for him, it's like, for us, time speeds up. For him, time is slowing down. And he wants it to end. He wants his mortality. He wants to not be compelled to this violence. And I thought that this also could kind of shine a light on some of our own nature, and just having this kind of the pathos of this character who's still, he's got trauma. He can remember everything, but he's got memories that he doesn't want to remember. And so I thought that was psychologically interesting and something that we could all relate to. And so he's kind of dealing with his past to be in his present. Yeah. And then this guy who's compelled to violence, who has to hide in violence, so he has to fight, he has to, but then how can he love? Where's the love for this character and the loneliness of that character? So I just thought there was lots of stuff to do with it.
I think for us, we're in this, what feels like for the world, a rug pull in the current climate, but also when you are in between seasons and you're waiting to all come back together, this is the longest us guys haven't seen each other. And so it does really make you incredibly nostalgic and incredibly grateful the fact that we have this extraordinary thing to go back to. It surprises you probably daily what are the things you miss. Like you miss the banter that we will always say, but I miss the emotional roller coaster of the whole thing. With those episodes were shot with a group of people that you love.
And then to work with this cast is truly the greatest joy and gives me so much pleasure and fun when we're actually all there together, because now you said something like this was a record having all these people. Well, this is almost a record because very rarely do we get to work together as a full group hardly anymore because everybody's so busy. So whenever we are together, it's magic and it's a pure delight. So I consider myself very, very lucky.
The plague is the mechanism by which the world becomes a big empty place. But it really is about the struggle between good and evil that comes afterward. That's what the story's been about for him, and that's what the story's been about, I think, for all of us.
People like to confront their fears, and if this is something that just happens to have coincided with a real-world event, it's interesting how people are not rejecting The Stand or Outbreak or Contagion. They're drawn to it because they're getting a little bit of strength from it, and I think that's sometimes a positive thing. Maybe that's the role that scary stories play in our existence and in our psyches.
It's all like all nerd stuff that I've always wanted to be a part of since I was young, and the idea that I can do it in a comedic way made me so happy amongst all these great actors, and I mean amongst a cartoon rat chef in Patton Oswalt. So the idea that we have funny people that are also really good at VO, because VO I feel like is a different skill set. Like everybody, you listen to Melissa, she's amazing. Amy at Table Reads was playing 4 characters sometimes. I could not believe the skill set.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was it's exciting that we have funny people that can handle this form, and it's led by Jordan and Patton, who care so much about the quality of what we're doing, that it's just like we're all very, very fortunate.
So I remember my grandmother. I'm on the car. I had a horrible dream about my grandmother passing away, and then I called her. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I was a little bit sad. She goes, "What's the matter?" I had a dream. She goes, "What? Did you dream that I died?" In this New York accent. I go, "Yeah." She goes, "It means I'm going to live forever." She goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm actually auditioning for this show, Smallville. I'm going in to do a reading." And she never had said this before. I swear to God. She goes, "You're going to get this one." And she was always like, maybe acting's tough. I wouldn't. A week later, she dies. And as we come back from the funeral at my brother's house in New York, and I checked my messages, and it was my agent saying, "Hey, you guys, my condolences. I just want you to know that you got Smallville. So that's how I found out. I just had gotten back from the funeral of burying my grandmother. So it was emotional, but I remember she said that. So it was kind of, I don't know, bittersweet or whatever. So that's where I was.
Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, I never told that. I just thought about it. That's where I was. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah.
I think that's kind of my primary answer to the question is that the interaction with the fans, and that's not just because we're in the format of a very strange con right now, but I grew up in convention culture before it exploded, back when it was a thing that I would say to my dad, how do you even know this thing is happening? How did all these, before the internet, the idea of like, how do all these weird people know to show up at this hotel? Like and they brought their tables and their comic books, and there's James Doohan from Star Trek and there's no air conditioning. And so I grew up in this culture. And so that moment when Carlton and I and the cast members came out on the stage in Hall H after the first season, after Lost was really out there. That was that summer between season 1 and season 2, which I would basically sort of felt to me like it was it was that montage in movies, in 80s movies, where just everything is going right and all the magazine covers are spinning and, we're the best around, nothing's gonna ever keep you down. That kind of thing is happening. When we walked out on that stage and the fans were lined up at the mics, I just couldn't believe that I was the one answering the questions. And then, but then we would, on subsequent years, we would go down and like hang out in the lines, with the fans the night before. And so that idea of like, that we were fans who had now made something that had fans and we were kind of all in it together, like that experience is the thing that I feel the most nostalgia for. In addition to obviously seeing and feeling and missing all the people that we made the show with. But that part of it, I think, is pretty spectacular.
Our brains receive the information, if you're rejected from your community, as death, because children could not survive without their community. Babies cannot survive without their community. So rejected, you're dead. That's it. And it's easier as adults to use our higher reasoning to go, okay, this is horrible that my friends rejected me, but it's not death. But when you're a kid, those messages from your brains and those emotions are very complicated, very hard to parse through. So you do anything to belong to a group of friends, anything, and a lot of tragedy comes from it. And my goal with this book was just to say to kids, my goal was just to tell the truth. This is how it felt to me. And I actually don't feel like people often talk about my books are like, it's a lesson about how to deal with bullying. I didn't think about it that way at all. I just want to tell the truth so that when kids are going through something, they don't feel so alone.
Mainstream comics are not meant to be this beautiful, and that really was.
The sound of her wings, I could tell you, as a matter of fact, and I think I've discussed it before, like came to me literally on my deathbed when I was having the heart attack and I was on the table and whatnot. I thought about my life. You can't help but think about your life as it flashes before your eyes. And what I fell upon that gave me great comfort, aside from singing the Degrassi Junior High theme song over and over in my head, was that moment in the book where, she meets the older man and in the sound of her wings. And the older man's like, what did I have? What did I get? You're here already. And what did I get? And Death says, you got what everybody gets. You got a life. That exact piece of writing, like literally gave me comfort in a time where I was like, I have a 20% chance of living right now. But you know what? You got what everyone gets. You got a life. Like, that's profoundly wonderful writing, man. So much so that it was with me the day I almost died. So kudos to you, wordsmith.
Comic-Con is supposed to be a safe haven for tweaking over all the nerdy crap you're too embarrassed to talk about in real life. You're happy to be there, but you have this dude with you that once again you've met maybe once or twice. Like, what are you going to do? Be vulnerable in front of this man over a bunch of damn ugly dolls? No, you can't do that. When you pass by the ugly doll stand, you make an abrupt effort to seem disinterested. And then everything changes. Your stranger friend stops and turns to you. Can we check out the ugly dolls? I love these things. Me and my sister used to play with these when we were little. Oh, wow. Okay, this is exactly what you wanted. Maybe this guy isn't half bad. You both geek out over the plush dolls that fill you with nostalgia from 2009 in the manliest way possible. He tells you his favorite ugly doll is Wade because he's the only one with an apron. You agree and dap each other up. There's a dude dressed up like Ice Bat, and you both get a picture with him. You leave the convention happy. You still barely know this person you're traveling with, but at least you have a weird bond that you will both refuse to talk about in a group setting. You get back to your car, and he agrees to split the parking fees with you. Life isn't so bad. Your expectations have been squashed. That's what I miss. Dylan, that's what we all miss. What we all miss is human contact. All those folks out there, the ones we don't know, the ones that we would just see in the streets or you might be in that group chat. And someday, around the corner, we'll be back there, and that'll be good, and there'll be another Comic-Con, and I'm hoping it'll be next year. It better be next year, or I'm going to be one angry fucker.